Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add Pathmonk to your website in seconds. Let the AI do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Michael Ortega from Predibase, head of marketing there with them. How are you doing today, Michael?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on today's show. We're talking a little bit, we weren't going to talk about the names, but let's jump into the company itself. In your own words, can you tell us a little bit more about what Predibase is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Predibase is an AI platform. Young company, startup, been around for a few years, launched our commercial product early last year. And really what we do and what we're focused on is making it just incredibly easy and cost effective and efficient for any developer to go build and serve like custom AI models, specifically large language models, which is what underpins it's the type of model that underpins like ChatGPT. And so we've been around about a few years and we're starting to see like pretty significant growth.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. And so that way our listeners could get a good understanding of your company. What problems do you solve for clients?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of like excitement, as I mentioned before, on large language models. These are the type of AI models that power ChatGPT, allow you to do really cool things. And so a lot of companies are trying to figure out how can we use these models, how can we innovate our business with them? And we make it easy for folks to take some of the best of breed open source models out there and start, building them and customizing for their business. And so we have customers across every industry, doing all kinds of use cases. For example, like World Wildlife Fund is one of our customers. They're using the platform to build an AI model that allows them to essentially, they have like thousands of these reports they produce every year for their different projects, reforestation, populating areas with endangered animals, that sort of thing. They built a model, for example, using our platform allows them to essentially take all those PDF reports that that tell them the results of those projects. They can't individually review all the results to make decisions. It allows their decision makers then to ask questions using this model of those reports. Like, hey, what are our top 5 countries where like we had the best reforestation as an example? And so the model allows them, they had to build this custom model, but allows them to ask very important questions that help them make decisions. And we have other customers doing some really interesting things, more in like tech startup type industry of a lot of tech companies. There's one actually in Latin America, Enric.ai. They're really trying to democratize knowledge through chatbots. There's a popular reggaeton artist. And so what they did is they used our platform to build a model that during that album launch essentially lets anyone use WhatsApp to interact with this like sort of chatbot version of that artist. And so you can send them stickers, you can send them voice memos, text messages, and using the AI model they built on our platform, that artist actually then responds with some sort of interesting feedback or comment or whatever conversation via what seems to be like voice, text, or stickers, all powered by AI. And like you're having a real life conversation with that artist. So that was part of like the launch of that artist's new album. But they've also done stuff where they're working like universities as an example, where you have students who have tons of questions they need to ask. They're having crises like, how do I pick the right courses or need help with this specific course material? They've trained a model on a lot of their information that they have internally. It's sort of locked up using our platform, use that model to power a chatbot that helps students. So the use cases are endless. We have companies in every industry, fintech, health tech, some of these more traditional industries that are using AI to deliver insights better back to their customers, automate processes, that sort of thing.
All right, awesome. And well, I mean, we were talking, mentioning different case studies here, the Worldwide Fund, the artist, but is there a vertical segment? Is there someone that you guys like to go after?
Yeah, honestly, like the applications for large language models or AI more broadly, like every single industry can benefit from automation, from intelligence driven by AI and new capabilities. So I would say we can serve anyone. Where we see a lot of the growth is more the tech sort of startup, sort of small mid-sized company that's really innovative, wants to use that new technology to gain an edge. And so we have a lot of companies that are sort of fintech, sales tech, and those sort of spaces.
Okay, perfect. Now, in regards to someone finding out about Predibase, is there a top client acquisition channel that you guys have that works the best for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to take like a step back, I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier before the interview of like, I'm very much so like my background is in product marketing, but I'm very much a demand-centric sort of marketer. And I demand is very near an acquisition near and dear to my heart. And as a startup, this is really critical because you're trying to grow rapidly. You're fighting every day just to survive. And so if you're not driving demand, then you're not going to be growing and you're not going to be learning too. You need to be giving your sales teams conversations, right? Develop, new leads so that you can learn from those leads. You can, and ultimately, sell your product. And so we have, since we've sort of launched our commercial product early last year, we have experiments and programs across like every channel. We have paid digital programs in LinkedIn and Google. We run a lot of third-party promotions and content syndication. So think about some of these hot AI newsletters that are, going to developers around the world who are building with AI. We sponsor content and offers in there. And then just organic and website is incredibly critical. I mean, that's been a huge boon for us as a startup where obviously our budgets aren't as big as some of the entrenched players. So being able to build killer content on our website that brings people in has been a game changer. And so, we have experiments in all those channels. If you ask me like, what's our best one? As I sort of referenced before, I think content is king, especially like for our audiences, which are developers and engineers. These folks are builders, right? They need sort of instructions and tools and hammers, right? For lack of better words, but to build what they're building, right? They're writing code, they need the guidance. And so we try and build content that really addresses those needs and tutorials. And those things have been incredibly great at sort of driving interest and inbound to our website.
All right, perfect. Awesome. Great to hear that from you, Michael. So I am here on the website so our listeners could go and visit you guys. It's predibase.com. What role does a website play for client acquisition?
I mean, your website's your mousetrap, right? I think we can all relate as consumers. The minute you hear about a new restaurant or a new artist, you hear a song on the radio or a new video game, whatever you're into, right? The first thing you're going to do is go Google and try and learn more about. If it's a restaurant, I want to go see that menu, right? It's an artist, I want to go see, hear more of their tracks. It's not any different for B2B tech, right? Like our developers and engineers, when they hear about Predibase, some of the cool things they're doing in a conversation or read an article or something out online, the first thing they're going to do is go to our website. So it's incredibly critical, as I mentioned before, the website's a mousetrap, right? I need to think about how that is going to engage our audiences. And I probably think of, sort of hitting on like three major things with the website. One is having like really good messaging. You really need to understand your customers, talk to them, understand their pain points, how you uniquely solve them, and making sure that if someone comes to our website, they get it within the first 30 seconds. Okay, what is the problem they're solving? Are they solving my problem? Do I identify with it? We don't have long attention spans. So when someone comes to a website, you better answer that right away. It takes a while to get there. You got to learn and iterate till you get there. And then I also think, beyond just sort of messaging and positioning and all that, what are our hooks, right? Are the hooks on the website? So how are we getting people, once they land there and identify with this problem, how are we hooking them to want to try Predibase, try our products? And so having things like free trial offers, having demos and videos and things to learn more and content that sort of takes them through that customer journey, takes them deeper into the funnel. So having good content and hooks is critical. And the third one on that is sort of ties into the hooks is content. And content is critical both from the buyer's journey, from awareness of the problem to then identifying with it and trying to solve it, having content that speaks across that on our website, but also just the SEO components of are incredibly important for us. To give you just sort of a data point, we're trying to blog every week on topics that we feel are relevant for our developer audiences. And, last year we hit gold and with a blog that literally tripled our website traffic. And so, when you have those moments where you find a topic that resonates, it's on something hot and interesting in the industry, you want to double down on that. So we really have doubled down on that. And we've seen that continue to pay dividends. So learning from, hey, what worked, what didn't, publishing more blogs along those topics or themes and thematics has paid huge dividends. So the website's the mousetrap. You got to have content to bring people in, and they got to have the hooks when people get there to keep them there, right, and go deeper.
Definitely. So then what would be some tools, methods, tips that you would recommend to our listeners as far as some content?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we're a startup, so we don't have every, new web sort of tracking tool and capability built in that exists. So there's things for everything. So for example, are we able to measure intent and things really well? Not yet, because we're just not resourced to do that. And track people across every page, but you start with the basics, right? You have a Google Analytics and Search Console. So, every morning I'm looking at our web traffic. How's it flowing? Is it growing? I'm using Search Console to see, hey, what blogs or content on our website are people finding through organic? What are the sort of queries they're typing in? And there's like, even more powerful tools like SEMrush and other things that you can use from an SEO perspective, but there's free tools like Search Console you can use just to start to get a lay of the land and see what content is working. The other one I think is just, qualitative, from a qualitative perspective, incredibly important that you just cannot downplay and I can't emphasize enough is that, talking to customers. You really got to spend time. You want to get your messaging and content right. You've got to know, like, have a finger on pulse. What's going on with your prospects? What do they care about? What are the pain points they're dealing with? And the only way you get that is through talking with them. So we use a lot of the basic sort of free tools that are out there. Definitely opportunity to get deeper in that space as we mature and our team grows. But there's a lot you can learn just sort of from the free tools and tracking the metrics.
Awesome. Very great to hear that. Thanks for those tips and tricks for our listeners there. Well, let's switch gears a little bit, Michael, and let's talk about you as a leader, you being the head of marketing there for Predibase. What are some key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
Oh, man. You're a startup. It's like every day is a sprint. Every day is changing. One day you're a pole vaulter, next day you're a gymnast. It's like you're doing something different every single day. I would say, there's a ton of tactical little things going on every day. If I were to put in some like broad reaching buckets, like I probably categorize in a few ways. One, as I mentioned, content before. Content is king in my space. We're trying to capture people's hearts and minds. So we have to have content that really speaks to them, things that help them do their jobs better, that they want to read about. So every day there's a big focus on what are we publishing this week? I'm looking at what's in our publishing calendar. How's it progressing? And does it need to be put into our web CMS? Do we need more reviews? Have we promoted on social? Do we want to promote it through a paid channel? So content is one big bucket of tasks I'm always focused on every single day. And then on the demand side, like the programs as well. So we look at our project list across the team. What are our next set of demand gen programs and product launches and deliverables, that sort of thing? Could it be, could be webinars or what have you, but making sure we're tracking to those big moments that we're set up properly to execute. So content and programs are a big focus. And then, I usually start my day with some, as we talked about earlier, some of the like analysis that we might do, whether it's like looking at like Search Console, web traffic, Google Analytics, amongst other things. We have obviously Salesforce and things in HubSpot, so we're looking at the conversion of programs. So a big bucket of what I do too is looking at our sort of metrics every day, like, hey, how's web traffic? Is it growing? Is it falling off a cliff? How are the sort of new blogs and things performing? Are there new organic terms that we're hitting on that we need to double down on? How's our MQL and free trial flow? So keeping an eye on those things. So those are like three really big buckets of kind of like always looking at content, programs, and sort of analysis. And then obviously the last one is people and making sure that like, hey, how's the team doing? Do people need help with things? Other people internally who need help? Are we helping them get their things done? Are there new team members we need to bring in, new contractors? So people is probably like the last bucket of sort of task. And it doesn't happen in like a perfect, flow every day with a bow on top. It's any one of those things at any moment, right? I have my priority list and I'm constantly hammering it, going through it, adding to it, rotating it, evolving it.
Definitely. It sounds like you have a full plate on your hands there, different hats, different times, different, every day, something different. So
yeah.
Great stuff there from you. And it's been working. So kudos to you, Michael. But let's jump into our next section, which is our rapid fire question round. So are you ready for that, Michael?
Bring it on.
All right. First off, what is the last book that you read?
Oh man. Well, I have two kids, 9-year-old, 11-year-old, and trying to just keep pace on what's going on in the AI industry. It's a lot of like, reading newsletters, blogs and keeping up on social. But with the kids, when I do get free time to read, it's usually reading with them. And so if you really ask me, the last set of books I read is we went through a whole thing where we were reading like all the Roald Dahl books together at night. So it'd probably be something along the lines of like Matilda, James and Giant Peach, BFG, those sort of things. So nothing, no like self-help or like, business books at the moment. A lot of, keeping pace with my kids.
All right. That's good. That's good stuff there. Next up is, what is one single thing that your company is focused on at the moment the most?
What we're focused on at the moment, well, we have a big product launch coming up. I would say like as of late, as a startup, one thing you're trying to find as a startup always is what we call product market fit, right? So, and what I mean by that is our product like really addressing what the customers want? Is our messaging aligned to that? Are we really hitting the needs the right way, both in, what we're delivering as a product and how we're talking to our audiences? And so it's been a huge focus this last year of experimenting with different sort of tactics and messaging. And I'd say as of late, we've really started to hit that product market fit and see sort of takeoff. And so now it's really just doubling down and say, hey, we feel like we have something special here. How do we double down on those programs, messaging, and content around that?
All right. Awesome. Great stuff there. And so if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
I mean, there's a million and one things. A lot of it, honestly, like we're a small team here. Just, it's myself, another person on marketing, and a ton of contractors. I have a lot of virtual teams, right? So there's a lot of things I'd love to implement to improve sort of how we think and operate as marketers in general. But I think honestly, like just really in the moment of the day and day, one thing I would love to just fix and make super easy is tracking and reporting. If I could like wave a magic wand and suddenly like my data was clean, I could ask any question of that data, get an answer to understand how this channel is converting, how that's program converting, what drove this opportunity, and really understand that, that would be incredible, because so much time is spent, digging into Salesforce. And I was trying to understand, okay, like what was the thing that drove this? Is this data looks off here? So if I could, snap my fingers and boom, tracking and reporting was fixed instantly, that would be it in a minute.
Definitely. All right. Awesome. Great to hear that. And well, lastly, Michael, you mentioned you already have a lot of experience, but what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Yeah, I mean, this gets into like my own personal philosophies and feelings. And honestly, I really try to not have regrets about things. I think you get one act in life. This is it. This is the big show. And what I mean by that is not that, there haven't been moments in my life where I would have done things that I would have preferred it was different, but the reality is that's how it is. And so I really try to keep a positive perspective of the future and say, like, look, anything is possible at any moment, right? And really realizing that if we need to change things, you need to evolve, you can always do that. So I try not to look back too much and say, I wish I'd done this differently, because the future and possibilities are endless. So if I apply that to your question as like a young marketer, I could tell myself, hey, Michael, you should have gone to product marketing sooner. I did a lot of different types of marketing, and really like, when I got into product marketing and tech marketing in my 30s, it was like transformational for my career. And so I could say to myself, you should do that sooner, but that would totally discredit like all the other experiences that led up to that moment. And so I don't know that I would really tell myself to do it differently, because it's worked out pretty well. And I really enjoy the journey where I am now. So the only thing I think I really would say to myself is just, hey, continue that mindset, like stay positive, be resilient, keep experimenting. The possibilities are endless. And so if you just kind of keep moving forward, but baby steps, 1 foot forward at a time, you're going to get where you need to go. And so I think it's less about trying to get a reset, more just keeping that focus on what do I want to, what do I want the future look like, and how do I take the small steps today to get there?
All right, awesome. Great advice for our listeners there as well. Hey, well, Michael, thanks a lot for being on the show with us today. I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about Predibase?
About Predibase, I mean, I think I say about life, and I say just stay positive, keep moving. About Predibase, look, AI is changing the world, and we're just making it really easy and cost-effective and efficient for developers to do it. We want to help you on that journey. We have an awesome team. The folks here have like history of working in AI, and we want to help these organizations have success and level the playing field for the smaller guys out there who may not have thousands of engineers and data scientists.
Awesome. Whether for our listeners, you could always check them out at predibase.com. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And Michael, thank you so much for being on with us today, and looking forward to our next episode at Pat Mug Presents. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.